Throughout the modern era, most NBA teams, when they're making their long playoff push and they have their established players, they usually make their runs from 4 to 7 years. And when I say modern era, I'm talking about Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, all the way up until present day. But we always seen these teams have a 4 to 7 year stretch where they make their runs year in, year out, deep playoff runs, and they're trying to make championship pushes. I believe the longest stretch we've seen was from Tim Duncan and the Spurs. But if I'm wrong about that, you guys correct me on that. With the new upcoming CBA, this everyday occurrence with teams on this type of level will be put to the test. And we're going to see many duos throughout the league, even the guys that are up and coming like Desmond Bane and Ja Morant. We're going to see those duos have a much narrower window to make their championship run. And that's because with the new CBA, once guys qualify to make a certain percentage of the cap, whether that be 35% or less, with these max deals, which fluctuate up and down depending on the player's circumstance, how often they make all NBA. But once you have two players that are kind of almost touching the super max threshold of 35% of the cap, it becomes difficult to put solid players around these duos. Because now going forward with the new CBA, in 2024-2025 season, teams that start to go over the cap by 17 million from back-to-back seasons, I believe 2 out of 4 years, they start to get punished. So them actually maintaining their teams from year in, year out become much more difficult. Their first round picks end up going at the end of the first round automatically if they're over the cap by 17 million for 2 years in a row. Or if they're over the cap by 17 million for 2 out of 4 years. And that's not even the worst of it. If they stay over the cap, they're limited on using mid-level exceptions, whether to pick up players or for trades. Same thing for their first round picks. They're limited on how many first round picks they can get or send out in trades. And most importantly, they're limited to the type of contracts that they can trade for. So if they have a supermax player, things are not working out, they can only trade him for another supermax player until they get under that $182 million threshold. So a lot of teams right now, present day, are going to be put to the test with this going forward from season to season. The Celtics with Jason Tatum and Brown, the Bucks, the Suns, Grizzlies, Nuggets, Clippers, and to somewhat degree the Lakers, but most definitely the Mavs. As the Mavericks move along, they're going to try to put pieces around Kyrie and Luka, and things might get a little tricky because they're going to have to dip in and out of being over that luxury tax line of $182 million. Now the Memphis Grizzlies are an upcoming team with the duo Ja Morant and Desmond Bane, but next season Desmond Bane's new contract will kick in, and between him and Ja Morant off rip, their salaries almost equate to $80 million. And when you factor that in with some of their key guys like Marcus Smart, Jaren Jackson Jr., if they get a couple of role players, those numbers tend to add up quick. So not only the roster selection with the role players have to be perfect, but these guys are going to have to be utilizing that time frame of just having everyone together. They're going to have to maximize that to the fullest. But with the Grizzlies, they're a small market team. I don't expect them to dip into the second apron. But potentially this team, they probably will end up going the route is dipping into second apron for one season and then making sure that they're out of it going forward until 3 seasons later that they could dip right back into it. So that way they don't get penalized on their draft picks. But any season that they dip into that second apron, they are limited for that season as far as mid-level exception trades, matching salaries. They can't group guys together and try to match a salary. It's only same salary coming in, same salary going out. And this will be very interesting to see how the small markets maneuver around this new CBA, especially teams like Memphis and Denver. Even though Denver is kind of a semi-small market, but it'll be very interesting to see how they maneuver because these teams don't necessarily have owners that are willing to dip into the tax because their local TV deals are not going to justify that. It's almost like these teams in a way have to operate how the Lakers have been operating the past few seasons. Even though they got LeBron James and Anthony Davis on the books, they seem to have gone with the development of some younger guys and just trying to find gems that kind of fit to their team. But the Lakers, if they could find maybe like a nice 3-and-D guy that can make about $20 million, that'll actually put them above the tax threshold in that second apron. So right now they're kind of stuck in the middle ground where they can only really afford, well, not afford, but they're only willing to sign guys around the $15 to about $11 million range. So this is the conundrum a lot of duels are going to have, is that once two guys are making 35% of the cap, their teams are going to have to be really selective on who they get, and their development is really going to have to be keen. But mainly for the first time, a lot of these duels, their championship windows, much more narrow than before.